Well, the NAFTA talks continue, with sources saying that the U.S. and Mexico may be able to close a deal. That would pave the way for Canada to re-enter discussions. However, after weeks of not being at the table, many fear Canada is at a disadvantage. There are concerns that Canada will buckle on key issues, meaning that those steel and aluminum tariffs could stay in place and have a negative impact on Canada's economy. Danielle Smith from 770 CHQR joins us live this morning to continue the conversation on this story. Danielle, how will the current lack of talks between Canada and the U.S. Be impacting local businesses?
Well, I know that they are really trying to downplay the fact that we've been frozen out for the last couple of weeks, but I don't think that there's any other way to look at it. They're trying to get a deal between Mexico and the U.S. and then use that as leverage to get Canada to budge on a number of issues. Because if it was any other way, you would be seeing bilateral talks going on between Canada and Mexico too, as opposed to just these bilateral talks going on with the U.S. and Mexico. So I think this is it's obviously a real problem for us, because it does mean that we are going into these negotiations with no leverage, no bargaining position. Canada's bargaining position going in has been to put a whole bunch of platitudes and values on the table, as opposed to just getting down to the brass tacks of what it is that the administration is concerned about, which is autos, which is Chinese imports being dumped into the United States via Canada, particularly in steel. And we keep talking about living wage and gender equity. These are not the issues that are a priority in these discussions. It may play well to the folks back home, but it's alienated the countries that we have to work with to get to a deal, and that's the real problem that we're facing here.
All right, let's talk strategy. What will Canada need to do to get an upper hand, or at least a decent deal?
I think at this point, they're going to have to go into the talks with an attitude of free trade. I don't think that Donald Trump has been at all unclear about what he's looking for. He talked about that a few weeks ago when he was talking about moving forward with the European Union. He wants a world of genuine free trade, where you have no tariffs, you've got no non-tariff barriers, you've got no subsidies, you've got genuine access to each other's markets. And Canada always approaches our talks with the United States, not with here's what we're going to open up, it's here's what we keep wanting to protect. And I think that we're going to see dairy and the other supply managed industries in the crosshairs. I don't know how the Trudeau government is going to handle that. There's also border limitations on how much we're allowed to buy online before we start paying tariffs. He's probably going to have to give on that. Those are the issues that have really emerged as sticking points for the Trump administration, and it's now going to be in Canada's court, especially if the rumors are true that Mexico and the U.S. have a deal.
It's going to be a delicate one to manage. Thank you very much, Danielle.
My pleasure.